In the vaulting basic elements of these, the flight to the horse off the takeoff board, position on and beyond the horse, and of course the landing. And we are developing a pretty good scrap between Jim Culhane and Tom Lindner for the 6th place in the point standings. Tom Lindner, who is at the present time in 7th place or in the alternate position, he trails Jim Culhane by 0.75 points for the 6th spot on the team. Big moment for him.
I wonder if the judges could see the legs part from their angle. We could see a little split in his feet, but I'll bet the judges couldn't see that.
Let's take another look in slow motion and see if the angle was a friend to Tom right here.
Has an aggressive run. Catches the horse and his feet are spread way apart, but I don't think they see it.
9.3 for Tom Lindner, which gives him 196.35 points. He will hold 7th place by some margin. The question now is whether or not Jim Culhane can keep him in 7th place. Let's watch Jim Culhane now. He's in 6th place.
And Keith, he's had trouble in the warm-ups. He hasn't gotten one good vault in the warm-ups. He's got to be a little bit lucky here.
Tom Lindner, who is in 7th spot or in the alternate position, bidding for that final team position. And Culhane.
I don't know, Keith. I don't think he got away with it.
Lindner trailed by 0.75 points going into this event, the vault. And Culhane did not come off of it cleanly.
He makes about 3 mistakes here. His feet are spread, his shoulders are way ahead of his hands, and watch him arch out to make his landing. These things all constitute very poor technique and should probably result in a big deduction.
A 9.1 for Jim Culhane. 196.90 for Culhane. He still has 6th place, but only by 55/100ths of a point ahead of Tom Lindner. So with 2 events to go, here are the standings. Steve Hugg, Makoto Sakamoto, George Greenfield, John Crosby, Marshall Abner, Jim Culhane, and in 7th, or the alternate position, Tom Lindner. Here it involves this young man, Gary Morava, who really has had little time to work at his gymnastics since last April. But he's made it to the final trials, and he is stuck in there. He is hung in there with a gutty performance, coming off a very bad back injury last April. And this is what happened to him just a few moments ago. He took a fall, hard fall. As a matter of fact, his 2nd fall in the competition. Now, when he made that fall, he stepped back in pain, but indicated to the judges that he wanted to complete it, and he did.
Keith, that fall cost him 1 full point for falling off, plus the deduction for missing the trick initially. And you can see that the poor fella is absolutely exhausted. His muscles simply won't react. But he's working with the heart of a lion.
So that was one of the highlights in the parallel bars. Here the other one. Makoto Sakamoto, who scored a 9.6 on the parallel bars to remain in 2nd place, and this is a master technician at work.
Indeed, he is a master technician. He's very thoughtful about his work. He controls his body magnificently, and this is why he scores so well in this sport. That's a straddle down, straddle up, press to a handstand, Stützkier, and he'll really wail on his dismount. Front with a half.
This is the high bar, horizontal bar, if you want to call it that. Seems to me, Gordon, that you know this very well, don't you?
Yes, in a negative sense. Seems to me that I fell off this thing in 14 straight dual meets when I was a junior in college and really gained an appreciation for it. In fact, at that time, I began to wonder whether it took strength or luck or divine help or what kept you on the high bar. And in studying it a little bit, I found that strength is really not a factor. The gymnast simply hooks his hands, swings around loose, and the best high bar men squeeze the least. It'll be interesting to watch that when we're going through it.
All right, Gordy, now the standings as we go into the final event. Steve Hugg, a comfortable lead on top. Makoto Sakamoto in 2nd place. George Greenfield, John Crosby, Marshall Abner, Jim Culhane, and Tom Lindner in that fight for the 6th position. It's become relatively academic as to which man is going to be the all-around points leader when the final trials are over. This young man, Steve Hugg, has every chance in the world to to have it that way. He was the 1972 NCAA individual all-around champion. So he's looking now to win the big prize in the final trials. Because in effect, what he is doing is merely winning a place on the U.S. Olympic team. 8.5 feet above the floor. Here he goes.
Well, he's a champion on the high bar, too. He learned most of his style in his year stay in Japan, and really swings on the high bar. Now, here's a part of his exercise that I've always liked. If I recall his exercise, he's going to pitch this thing clear out of the gym. Real hot full twister.
Gordon, let's go back in slow motion for a moment and look at Steve's exercise here on the high bar. I have the feeling he kind of went conservative.
I think he's playing it real close to the vest. He's in a pretty good position in the meet, and he's not taking any chances. He's leaning over the bar quite a ways. He doesn't pass through the handstand. He doesn't hang that Stalder chute right up to the optimum.
And the scores for Steve Hug.
Score for Steve Hug,
9.45.
9.45. And that gives him an even 220 points, and we'll continue right after this.